sustainable. It's not.
Right, let's get your perspective, Diko.
So, I believe where they got the language of super schools from is from super camps from the military that was said to have been built sometime, I believe, 2 years ago, when they said, oh, they weren't going to have different camps in different places, where they're going to have a super camp, a concentration of personnel, intelligence, weapons, to ensure that they kicked out Boko Haram and the terrorists and bandits and all of them. And so far, we didn't really see anything about it. But yes, talking about super schools, for me, I believe that's also high risk, because what you're telling me is that now you have a higher volume of children in a particular location. So a school where...
Because it's close to a security agency means they are safe. When we've seen at
and so far, that hasn't proven to be the case, unfortunately. So either you're saying that you're building a super school beside a super camp, or whatever super nomenclature you choose to use, you cannot guarantee the safety of children. However, in terms of sustainability, can we look at the security architecture of the nation and of the entire region to see how they can rework it? You talked about some data that you heard this morning. I have it here. It's 10 in the first half of the year, 2021. 10 billion naira has been paid so far in ransoms. These are reported cases now. Yes. Doesn't mean that it's not more than that. 2,371 people kidnapped, 281 incidents of kidnap, 237 lives lost during these kidnaps. Niger, Zamfara, Kaduna, and Katsina are the worst hit in the country at this time. So the question is, what is being done to ensure that in those various states, that the security architecture is being strategic about it? Because you telling me that you want to build a super school, that's not the priority. Because so far we've had different cases of kidnappings. I mean, last week we had maybe like 3-4 cases of kidnappings. On Sunday alone we had back to back. On Sunday alone we had 2. Yeah. And I'm wondering, how did we even get here in Nigeria where we get to have a conversation around kidnappings and it is literally on a daily basis, and then people aren't cringing anymore? We're so jaded that you hear cases of kidnappings, they're like, okay, it's another day, or maybe it's a Friday.
Governments begin to take responsibility to addressing this as the security officer, whatever it is they have been called in their state?
Yes, they can, but really and practically speaking, how much can they do? Because they do not control the police.
Absolutely, they do not.
Yes. So something can still be done in terms of having local assets being drawn up and all of that. But the question is, are they doing that? How effective have they been? They will also, whatever local assets you say you have, maybe the vigilante groups or whatever name you want to call them, you'll still need heavy support from the police, the military. The question is, are they getting that backing? Assuming that they have those local assets in play. So the question is, what is really being done? Because we haven't seen any deliberate approach so far, because we really cannot continue this way, having 200 pupils abducted, 130 something, 120 something.
I was having a chat with a young lady yesterday, and she was telling me that she got admission to a school somewhere within the country and she couldn't go. She had to defer because of security.
So that is one year.
A regular thing. A friend told me
it shouldn't be regular.
The son was admitted.
We cannot start normalizing things like that.
You know, Fairness of Technology in Oyekiti.
Yes.
The child is at home. Why? He wasn't going to take the risk of sending, their son to that distance. Okay? Going to the school alone. The road they are traveling through is loaded with danger and mayhem. And then staying in school, they cannot guarantee their safety and security. For me, we need to look inwards and begin to develop traditional means of solving these problems. Okay, because the political will now has not worked.
Which is what he's saying, that how much can they do? They still need the backing of the military and police.
For me, you see, in every community, we have what we call local intelligence.
Right.
Crime is localized. Intelligence is localized. And every community, they all have their peculiarities. So the question is, are they tapping into that? I mean, how do you say 200 people came with motorcycles to take away
the state?
And then the one stopped.
It's not like a state where it has not happened before. It has happened repeatedly. So after the several occurrences, they still don't have anything in place to forestall future occurrences. That's what I'm saying. Somebody has to sit down somewhere and think through all of these things. It's not looking like, I mean, for me, it's not looking like they are doing any meaningful thing to stop it. But it has to be stopped. Otherwise, remember I told you, call them kidnappers or bandits. So long as they are targeting school children, what they are doing is to make education impossible for children to acquire. And that is the #1 assignment of business of Boko Haram. So for me, they are elements of Boko Haram.
But it doesn't seem that that is what a lot of people in government are seeing them as.
Because they've chosen to politicize the whole thing and giving them different nomenclatures.
Identity.
We have Boko Haram. We have some people refer to Boko Haram, then terrorists. I don't know how they are not together. And then you hear bandits, and then you hear hoodlums, and then you hear also they are criminals, plain and simple. And somehow all of them get different treatments. Some people get negotiated with, some people are untouched, some people you don't go near them. And I'm wondering
how long do we play politics with people's lives?
Unfortunately, that's what we have seen so far, because I think it is quite appalling when we have a situation like this happen repeatedly, and the future of this nation is being robbed from us gradually. Because then, if you count all the school abductions in the last 3 months, you're looking at maybe nothing less than 1,000 pupils that would likely not go back to school. If my child was one of them, that child will never go back to school. The worst case scenario, you get homeschooled, or you go train for, or you go learn a trade.
How many parents can homeschool?
Or you go learn a trade. So in terms of formal education, we have a certain part of the nation that has been robbed of that, and we have children with bright futures who have no idea if their destiny was to cure cancer or to do something phenomenal in the world, that are being robbed of that opportunity. So that is what we're having right now. They're not looking at it from the perspective that we're having our future literally being robbed from us, from our own very eyes.
But unfortunately, we're talking of a region that has been globally identified to have the largest number
of out-of-school children. Yeah.
To now be played with this again, it's going to worsen the entire situation, which for me should have driven the leaders now, whether religious, political, or whatever,
within that region,
to know that, look, there's a problem, and it's a cancer. It must not be allowed to metastasize. Otherwise, like you said, the future is being allowed to slip away. Okay? Remember also that as I'm talking now, or as we're talking, we have a large crowd in IDP camps.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay? And children people are getting pregnant, they are having children, are being raised in those camps where they have no facility to be trained, either in crafts or be given education. Now, what is the future of children emerging from those IDP camps? We have a lot of challenges on our hands, and the more reason why I think for now we should be at a point where local solutions should begin to come up from people. I don't know why they've not set up a committee of people, security practitioners, professionals who could come and say, come up, what is the way forward? It has to stop at being my problem. It's not our problem.
Absolutely.
So collectively, we look at possible solutions, and then we distill them, whichever one we think are practicable and easily doable. We give them a trial. Because what I can see now is just lethargy. I can't see any action in that regard. And for as long as kidnapping is attractive, or is allowed to be attractive, it will continue.
Of course, it is an
Your
industry.
solution to this issue?
Well, the government has to be deliberate about it. I mean, he said that local solutions need to be deployed, but the question is, after those solutions are given, will they be executed? Because we've had different cases in different parts of our polity where people have provided different solutions. I mean, we even have a confab of 2014 that hasn't been able to
But these people
put into
trusted you
execution.
with their lives.
Yes, so you have that sense of responsibility. The question is, people in government, do they have that sense of responsibility? But having a deliberate approach to it, to say that, you know what, enough is enough, we have tangible solutions, and then we intend to execute them to the letter, is a different conversation altogether. But for me, I believe that it is time that a lot of pressure is put on the government at various levels, in various states across the country now, not just the north, across the country, to say that enough is enough. Insecurity cannot be seen to be a thriving industry. This whole kidnapping situation started a couple of years ago. And I remember saying it that if it wasn't stopped, it would become a proper industry. Now it is a proper, unregulated, untaxed industry where people believe that every couple of days you just pack a bunch of people, and then you say that you want 200 million, you want 800 million, you want a certain amount, you want a bag of rice and all of that. And then somehow there is no deterrent, because when bad behavior is not punished, it is encouraged. So that's what we have seen so far, because the leadership so far at various levels, we haven't seen so much of a deliberate action from them. So yes, we need to see that deliberate action that yes, we are seeking practical solutions, and we intend to execute, and we will execute and show you the results of the execution.
Right.
Remember, in very recent past, we had governors going to negotiate or discuss with them in the forest, and then they took photographs that we all saw. For me, therefore, they cannot deny having knowledge of their locations or an idea. We also know that Sheikh Gumi has been at the forefront of going to different bandit camps with Nigerian soldiers and policemen, okay, to go and have meetings with them. It's high time that he came up with, with a help now for the government to tell them this.
But he has come out to say that it won't stop until the government agrees to negotiate.
You see, he's been two-faced about it. But I know that with technology, government can spotlight where they are. It is possible.
But if you listen to the papers this morning, or if you read or heard the news this morning, you see on the pages of the papers where it is said that the means SIM registration, police cannot track these persons.
You see,
so where is the technology? How are we using technology to address this issue?
Means all of the billions squandered on registration is not going to deliver any value to Nigeria's nation. I mean, if that should happen, everyone that was involved in initiating and operating that should be in jail.
I also think
huge resources.
Of course. So I also think that it's a smoke screen, because if you remember one of the pages of the newspapers, and as a report came out yesterday about the National Assembly approving certain amount of money to the NIA.
Yes.
So now they will say that, oh, NIN didn't work. Now we need to track WhatsApp. So the question is, you want to track WhatsApp on a phone that's cannot use a phone. So now, no. So because that's what they're going to say, that it's for security purposes, to keep you more secure. You are here on TV complaining about kidnapping. That is what we want to do, keep you more secure.
Track whatever it is.
And then you have folks that their phone doesn't get internet service, and then you're telling me you want to track from WhatsApp after having to use name.
Ordinary phone calls that have logs with the telecom company
can be tracked.
Will have been used for the purpose we are talking about.
Be tracked.
What about
we still go back to the conversation about them being deliberate about execution, and say that this is what we want to have done, and we're going to do it.
And let me tell you, if it's